So good morning, Cheryl, and good morning to everybody listening in, wherever in the world this is going to be, whatever your time is. And this morning, I'd like to really introduce Cheryl Benadie. And Cheryl just is going to introduce and talk a little bit about herself in a moment's time. But Cheryl wrote a book called The Wholeness Revolution, Living Beyond the Pain and Reclaiming Your Power. And Cheryl, today I want to just really explore a little bit about things around the book, your life story, and perhaps for you to tell us why people should buy the book and read your story. Would that be okay?
Yes, thank you, Bert, and thank you so much for taking the time to have this interview. I have a lot to say, so I'm going to let you ask the questions, and then I'll take your lead from there.
Awesome. And I think the main thing here is, we just want to have a chat. We want to really find out some things about you as the author, and also what the book is going to do and who it's written for. So let's start with the first question. How long did it take you to write this book?
So, Bert, that's a very difficult question to answer because I really started writing this book in my early 20s. As a writer, I've been writing this in different stages. So over the past, I would say, decade and a half, 2 decades of writing different versions of the story. And in the process of that, experiencing different levels of trauma, unfortunately. But also in the book, I share about my journey of healing and wholeness. And so I would say it's been about 2 decades, but.
All right. So 20 years. Wow. That's
Yes. It's crazy.
That's some stamina that you got there. So, but in any case, awesome that you're so much inspired by writing this book. And we really, I think there's a lot to learn about your life and what people can learn and what they can accept and what they should do for their own, wellness and wholeness, I suppose. So what do you hope to achieve with publishing the book?
Well, I wrote this book because I want to try and explain a sense of it's like a bottleneck book. I've tried to avoid writing this book many times. I've tried to write different books. I have, I think, probably 8 to 12 books in draft form that cannot be released or completed until I finish this. They always say that the writer's first book is really about their lives. And I understand now why that is true, because you almost, as a writer, have to own your story in its completion. And the story like this, it talks about different levels of abuse I faced in my life, which is very similar to a lot of what South Africans are facing every single day. And so that takes courage to write about, I would say, the shadow parts of ourselves or the things that we don't want people to know about our story. And so that's why it's been so...
being authentic, isn't it? Sorry.
Yes, being authentic. But, in kind of unveiling the monsters behind the masks is difficult because there are people in our stories that we have very complex relationships with. And so that's been the challenge with this book.
Okay, so 20 years in the making, and that's certainly then worth reading. And I would encourage our listeners to get a copy of the book. Where would I get a copy of the book if I wanted one?
Well, at the moment, it's available on Amazon for pre-order. So at the time of recording this interview, it will be released on the 27th of November. And I'm also currently running a crowdfunding campaign in South Africa to print the first 100 copies of my book. As a self-published author, it's a very difficult process to actually, kind of handle all the elements of the publishing process by yourself. And so that's why I'm glad that we're doing the interview, because I think once people know what the book is about, they might be more interested in getting a copy of the book.
Awesome. Yeah. And I think, there's so much to learn from that and from your experience. What do you hope to achieve with the publishing of this book, Cheryl?
Fundamentally, Bert, as I've been writing the story, it's been very difficult. I've always had this picture of I'm in a mall one day and someone comes up to me and says, Cheryl, thank you for writing this book. Because you wrote your story, I was able to relate. I was able to feel like there's someone else who's been through what I've been through, that even though you face overwhelming negative and challenging realities that told you that your life wasn't worth living, you found hope. And because you found hope, you gave me hope for myself. So essentially, I've written this book because I want to share the hope that I found to reach beyond, giving up. And I think with the mental health issues that a lot of people are facing, if we just have some messages of people that have been through similar things that we've been through, and they share their journey of how they've healed and overcome. Because sometimes when we are facing those situations, we don't know how to get out of it.
Yes.
It's all we
Yes.
see, it's all we know. We get very myopic in our view. And
Yes.
so in sharing all of these ugly realities about my life, I'm hoping that people can also discover that as you move beyond those ugly truths of your life, you can discover and uncover and rebuild a beautiful truth about your life. And that's fundamentally the focus. I do
Awesome.
share the difficult and the real stuff that happened, but I also
Yeah.
focus on, finding a new story, building a new story beyond the pain.
Okay, and moving forward and living your life, isn't it?
Yes, reclaiming your power. That's why I put the back there, because once you've been a victim, Bert, and you've seen this, I mean, you are an action coach, you've seen people trying to build businesses. We tell young
Yes.
people in universities, well, the job market has shifted. You might not get a 9-to-5 job, so go and build a business. But when I was in my emotional turmoil state, in my late 20s, I tried to build a business, but there was no focus, there was no clarity, there was no confidence. So if your internal life is in chaos, your business is going to be in chaos. Your life will be in chaos. So it's about how do we take a step back from what's been done to us and start asking the question, what can I do to rewrite my story, to take the power back in my life?
Yeah. No, I can honestly say that, quite a few business owners that I work with, and I've worked with many over the last 9 years, they battle with their businesses. And, if they can get inspiration from your book to see what you've gone through, life in their business might be totally different. And we hope that, this will help with that as well. So awesome that you're there. So what are your plans to launch this book?
Well, I'm going to have an in-person launch in Johannesburg, but also a virtual launch on the 27th of November. And I really tried to position my book around the time of the 16 days of activism against gender-based violence. What I found is with these campaigns, about these horrible things must end and stop, people are very, very scared to share their story. And so in sharing my story about the realities of what predisposes a woman to be in an abusive relationship, what does codependency mean? What are some of the signs of unhealthy relationships? Because it's a very complex thing, violence against women and children. And we kind of just want to be on the soapbox and say, this must stop, this must end. But how does it end? It ends by people realizing, I don't have to be in a relationship that is beating me into an oblivion, that is causing me to be small. I can actually change, but I can only change when I know I'm strong enough and I'm worthy enough to create a different reality. So that's funny, my idea with the launch.
Yes, no, awesome. I appreciate that. I think, what I see so often is people don't think that they're good enough. So they accept their current reality and they can't get out of that just because it's a mindset issue. And again, what I'm hearing is, what you're saying is, guys, change from your fixed mindset to a growth mindset, because you don't have to be caught in this forever. You can get out. And here's proof. Cheryl Benadie demonstrates that. So, Cheryl, you've got a young daughter as well, very happily married. So
well,
what's the next?
Most of the time, happily married.
Excellent. Yeah, we all do, don't we?
Yes.
But what's the next? What are your plans for the future?
Well, again, after I've released this book, it's almost going to be a relief that this book is out there, because also, sometimes we, like I was saying earlier, we try to hide a bit of our story, but now it's almost like there's nothing you can discover about me that I haven't revealed. So everything's there. Yes. So, it's very much a relief, but also if I'm encouraging my clients and the people that I'm training in universities and, being whole in the workplace, if I'm telling them to be courageous to own their stories, I have to do that first. To say that abuse doesn't have to be a death sentence. You can live beyond that. You can take back your power, rebuild your life, build new, healthier patterns. And so beyond this book, there's going to be many other books. Because I'm already thinking about, all the books. A
Absolutely.
writer's job is never done, but as you would
Yes.
have known if
Agree
you
with
know
that.
authors.
Yeah.
But also I'm going to be building some courses and training programs around how do you journey from brokenness to wholeness. That's my life mission. I've
Yes.
claimed that I am the wholeness guide because I've
Yes.
been through broken places, and
Yeah.
I've discovered you don't have to stay there. There is life beyond brokenness. And so that's really my
Yes.
ultimate life passion and goal with my business, with my life. Just everything that I do every day is about how can I help people to see themselves differently, to see themselves from a place of power, and not wait for the government to change, for their partners to
Mm.
change, for their children to change. You can only change yourself, and you're a coach, you know what I'm talking about.
Yes. Absolutely. Start with yourself. Absolutely. So the work you're doing at universities, can you just tell us a little bit about that?
So I've been in the higher education space for about 10 years before I started my business, and I'd been working in other industries for a while. So I've had 22 years of working experience, but I'm now in my third career. And so
Yeah.
this is definitely my sweet spot, is helping people to bridge the gap between the head and the heart. So what I found in my time at universities as a fundraiser is that we're giving young people funding to really, develop an aptitude for a career path.
Yes.
But career paths have changed, but as you know, we can't depend on 9 to 5 anymore. We have to build side hustles. We have to build a portfolio
Mm.
career. We have to think differently about our skill sets and what we bring into the world of work. No job description is going to give you a life purpose.
No,
And
absolutely.
so
Mm.
a lot of the work that I do at the moment with universities is helping university students to manage their funding.
Yes.
So they get a bursary amount, they get allowances, but by the middle of the year, it's all spent up. So it's sharing from my own journey of being in debt in my 20s and how
Mm.
I got out of that, but kind of getting beyond the surface of money management, not just here's a budget plan, go do that.
Yes.
Everyone knows how to do a budget, but no one does it. Why? Because there's the
Living it.
exactly
Sounds like business owners, this.
it's universal, but that's the thing. So I've also
Yeah.
worked with
Yeah.
mid-career professionals who are at the point of, I've kind of gone this path that people have wanted me to walk on, but I'm missing
Mm.
something. And so
What's
in all of the
yes.
training that I do is to help people to discover your why. What is my purpose? What will be
Mm.
meaningful work for me, and how can I do more and more of that? So that's some of the
Yeah.
work we're doing at universities. It's the financial mastery elements, but also then how do I shift my skill sets to be more
Mm.
relatable for the marketplace.
Yeah.
So
No,
it's
awesome.
really the inner core
Yes.
stuff.
Yeah. That's awesome, and I think that's what as a business coach I do with the business owners. Really understand why they're doing what they're doing and why they are in the business, and is it what purpose have they got with that? Cheryl, is there anything else you would like to the readers to know, or the readers to know?
Well, I think, the title itself, The Wholeness Revolution, I took a while to really think about a title. I did some market testing with different titles. And I decided to pick the Wholeness Revolution because it talks about power, right? So when we think about the word revolution, we immediately picture, governments being overthrown forcefully.
Mm.
And when we think about gender-based violence, that's there already. So it's like this violence
Yes.
has forced you into a place of being subservient to the
Mm.
lie that you are not worthy. And
Mm.
so there's almost has to be this equal and opposite reaction of power to say, no, that's not
Yes.
who I am. This is
Yes.
not my life story. I'm going to live beyond this. So you almost have to kind of build up that momentum of resistance to a
Yes.
lie of brokenness and say, I'm going to commit to a journey of wholeness. And it's not easy. It's not pretty. It's not instant,
Yes.
like you would see it on Instagram. It's painful and messy. And so that's what I reflect
Absolutely.
in my book. I'm really sharing a lot of my very, very personal life from the time of me growing up in a home where I faced domestic violence to being married in a healthy relationship, but even the reality of what does a real relationship look like? It's not just
Yes.
roses and the
Mm.
happy moments. It's real life stuff. So, this book is not for people who want a quick fix solution, but it is a
Yes.
book for people who are saying, I really want to investigate the roots of why my life is the way it is right now. And I want to address those root issues so that I can replant myself in something more fulfilling and that actually brings more fruit in my life, essentially.
Awesome. Yeah, so the Wholeness Revolution, living beyond the pain and reclaiming your power, something really that you should read. And if you want to get out and want to get wholeness, then it's time to live beyond the pain and get that power. So Cheryl, thank you for being here this morning, and nice to talk to you, and may you sell millions of copies.
Thank you, Bert. And as my coach, you're going to help me do that.
Absolutely. So good luck and God bless.
Thank you so much, Bert. I appreciate it.